Welcome to part 2 of Parenting the ADHD Brain. In this part, we will focus on specific plans for supporting the ADHD brain with challenges related to schoolwork, chores, friendships, and technology. Solid academic achievement can be a tougher goal to attain than most kids would like, and all too often they underperform. Sometimes kids with ADHD thrive with less direction and you can watch from the sidelines. At other times, you have to be more actively engaged, especially when there are issues that involve safety, health, and justice. Research shows that when parents and teachers cooperated on improving academic skills, the child's rate of academic success improved. There are a few things that you can do to put yourself in your child's shoes and see what it's like for them at school. Step 1. Listen to their voices, good, bad, and indifferent. There are common threads that weave through the stories about school that kids with ADHD share. Threads of honesty, adaptability, strength, and struggle, or threads of frustration, shame, persistence, and triumph. Heartfelt confessions contribute to nurturing compassion for your child by giving you insight into some of their daily experiences. Gather information that goes beyond simple likes and dislikes. For example, your child may be good at spelling but is not interested in it. They might dismiss it because it's too easy for them. This is good information for you to know. In order for you to create a supportive, lasting network that your child embraces, you must start with understanding what their daily life at school is like. Step 2. Have honest conversations. Make a plan to sit down together and talk about school at a time and place that works for everyone. Start with curiosity. Ask your child for their opinion about how things are going. What are they good at? Where do they struggle? Be neutral and show genuine interest to counteract any possible defensiveness. Repeat exactly what you heard them say. I heard you say that your teacher is giving you a hard time. Is that right? Make an empathetic statement that shows caring. It sounds like you're having a tough time in the classroom. Ask who, if anyone, understands them at school, keeping an eye out for allies. Perhaps share a challenging school experience of your own and how you got through it. Ask your child about their goals for school. They should be specific, such as they want to take an art class or want to have a good enough grade so that they can play football. Discuss how you or someone else could assist them in making those a reality. Create an action plan in which each person has a particular task and set up a follow-up meeting for the next week. Appreciate your child for being honest and talking with you. You may receive gratitude from them, you may not. It doesn't mean that they don't feel it. No one is ever excited to do a task that is unrewarding or uninteresting. Pointless and boring are adjectives often used by kids with ADHD to describe homework, or maybe the way an adult might perceive sorting through their closet. An ADHD brain needs for things to be engaging to accomplish them. The EF skills of motivation and initiation are developing more slowly than they are for kids without ADHD. Finding your own reason to do something and deriving satisfaction from doing it doesn't consistently emerge until late adolescence. Extrinsic motivation refers to an outside request, reward, or responsibility that depends on achieving a goal. For example, if you turn in your permission form by the due date, you can go on a field trip. Intrinsic motivation means driving toward a goal for personal satisfaction or accomplishment. For example, you break a record on your favorite video game. Another issue related to getting started with an unpleasant task is procrastination. Procrastination is directly related to the size of the task. Something that might seem small to us, like doing a worksheet, can feel enormous to a child with ADHD, and they often think to themselves, why do I start something that seems impossible to finish? They freeze and unintentionally become masters of avoidance. The best solution to feeling overwhelmed by a project, test, or chore is to break it down into smaller pieces. But this process can be tough for an ADHD brain because it also involves understanding a sequence of events. When a child or teen with ADHD cannot see immediate satisfaction from a task or grasp any long-term benefit, they will struggle with doing it. With lower amounts of dopamine in the ADHD brain, it takes them longer than their non-ADHD peers to get moving. Incentives can help kids with ADHD who struggle with motivation in starting things. They build extrinsic motivation toward the desired goal, which, when achieved, nurtures the positive feelings for internal motivation later on. For example, you might link completion of a dreaded book report to an extra 30 minutes of screen time. Incentives that motivate are incentives that matter to kids, not what you think would be good for them. You must link something unsavory that needs to get done with something they want. Even as adults, we incentivize our own tasks. For example, after a long day of work, cooking dinner, and doing chores, I might make a deal with myself to get cozy on the couch and watch my favorite show after all my work is done and the kids are in bed. I use this pleasure of vegging out as motivation to complete my chores. The because I said so intimidation approach of our parents' generation may get the job done, but it does not build any lasting skills. Co-creative, incentive-based plans work best to improve motivation for home responsibilities and school-related assignments. Before creating an incentive-based plan, consider a few things. What does your child love to do? Consider every activity, whether it's additional time playing outside, using electronics, or going out for a special ice cream. These are privileges that your child can earn. All children need nourishment, security, and love to thrive. They do not need access to electronics. These beloved activities or treats can act as motivators for doing homework. What type and size of homework assignments do they manage successfully? You've likely noticed how much and what kind of studying your child can do easily and what's harder. Breaking things down helps in accomplishing something. Since no step is too small, reflect on the quantity of work that they can manage. How long can your child focus on homework before getting distracted or bored? For kids under 10 with ADHD, it can vary from 5 minutes to 20 minutes. For kids between 11 and 14, it's usually between 20 and 45 minutes. And for teens between 15 and 18 years old, it's likely anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes. With hyper-focusing, these can be longer and times can vary with individual kids. In general, you want to stop the work before boredom and negativity set in. Now it's time to discuss with your child their answers to the same questions. Sit down at a predetermined time, not in the middle of an argument, to talk about homework. Discuss what's going well and what isn't. What differences would they like to see? And share your opinions too. Together, pick one issue that you both have identified as problematic. Is it getting started? Is it staying focused on the assignment? Is it remembering to turn in the work? Most kids ask for incentives that involve technology. You can do this, but you can also offer your time with them as an additional incentive. Even if kids don't say so, your time and attention matters to them. If you do offer your time, you must specify beforehand the guidelines of the together time. Keep in mind, I would never encourage you to take away connection time if your child didn't fulfill their part of the bargain. Instead, offer a dual option program. If your child does their part of the agreement, you both relax and watch a favorite show. If they don't do their part of the agreement, you work together to clean their room. Either way, you're spending time together. Set up the details of the plan that you both agree on. This includes establishing the total length of the desired study time and shorter work period. These blocks are then broken up by timed breaks of no longer than 10 minutes. Depending on your child's age, interest, and your house rules, breaks can include snacks, a game of cards, a phone call, walking around, or playing with a pet. During homework period, it can be helpful for your child to work alongside you. This can be called family work time, and you can use it to catch up on things like baking, answering emails, or reading an article of interest. Ask your child if they prefer to start their homework by tackling the hardest assignment first, when their brain is the freshest, followed by something easy and then medium, or some kids prefer to do something easy first to feel a sense of progress. Otherwise, the easy and medium tasks offer a break from the demands of the tougher ones. This progression builds stamina and persistence. When your child wants assistance, help them out. When you're right there working simultaneously, you can notice if they wander off. Try your best to keep your comments about how they could do things differently and more efficiently to yourself. If necessary, later on, you can casually offer a suggestion about improving their study habits by saying something like, I noticed last night that you have all your class papers in one file, and it took you a while to find what you needed. What if we separate them into files for each class to save time? This way, they don't feel criticized or monitored when they're trying to do their own thing during family work time. Reviewing work is tricky. When we focus on errors, your child can feel bad about what's been done instead of feeling good about completing it. So I suggest that you let the teachers correct any mistakes so you don't get into that hot spot. At the end of the homework period, your child has hopefully earned their incentive by doing the agreed upon work. If the work is not completed, then the reward doesn't occur. If the agreement is that your child gets 30 minutes of iPad time or a game of Uno with you once all their homework is completed, option 1, or no electronics and loading the dishwasher if they don't, option 2, that is what has to happen. Do not renegotiate the terms of your program if your child doesn't meet them. Collaboration rarely happens under pressure. When your child feels overpowered by big feelings, the first step toward regaining balance is getting their smart part back online, or getting their lid back on, by activating thinking and working memory. Teaching kids to consciously stop, think, and act helps tremendously. Often, when people experience intense feelings, they act first, then stop, and think last. We want to flip this order around. The goal is to instruct your child to manage their big emotions by engaging the thinking brain, by stopping to slow things down and breathing or walking away until calm, then noticing and reflecting on what's happening and their options, and then brainstorming next steps and trying them out. For a child with ADHD whose brain is wired differently and whose EF skills are not fully developed, it's a big challenge to use stop, think, act. For a teen who is hormonal and physiological changes in their minds and bodies make them emotionally volatile and extra reactive, pausing in the midst of an emotional storm is an even greater task. But neither is impossible. Just as you teach your kids to say please and thank you, they can learn to practice saying this to themselves. Repeating the words stop, think, act can kickstart your child's thinking process and activate that smart part thinking brain. The best way to help your kids use stop, think, and act is by calling in the 5 C's. First comes your self-control when your child's lid has flipped and your amygdala has taken over. You need enough awareness to keep it from steering you into a tailspin. Awareness comes from noticing what's happening inside our body when we're provoked, as well as what's happening around us. Maybe your heart starts beating faster and you feel revved up. Maybe you start talking louder and faster. Maybe the people around you are looking distressed and are raising their voices. These are all cues that emotions are heating up and a stop might be in order. It's important to set aside some time when things are calm and the thinking brain is online to talk with our kids about what they notice happening in their body when they experience their lids flipping and emotional flooding. Work together with your child to make a list of ways to slow things down, like breathing exercise, going outside, retreating to a calm space with a book or music, or asking for a hug. Once the storm has shifted, you help make connections between emotions and behavior by noticing. This is the think part. This is not the time to strategize about emotional and behavioral patterns. This is a moment to use curiosity in place of any type of judgment. So instead of saying, "You're overreacting, you're driving me crazy," you ask a non-blaming question like, "What happened that got you so angry?" Or, "How did things become so heated up?" Or, "I noticed that when it got too late to finish your homework, you became scared about school tomorrow." This is the part of the plan where you become Sherlock Holmes and investigate what's going on in the mystery of flipping the lid and collect information about what caused it to flip. Curiosity not only spurs your child's thinking, but it also nurtures the second C of compassion, when you share your observations and simultaneously offer empathy. These tactics will help you later when you strategize about how to deal with the situation or act. It is an act where you both brainstorm ideas and use problem-solving techniques working as a team to nurture the third C, collaboration. Although outbursts are unpleasant, they are the best time for learning. You may refer back to previous collaborations or similar experiences to build on next steps or different solutions. When you link the present to the past, not only are you igniting working memory, but you're also demonstrating the fourth C, consistency. ADHD kids will often express out loud their feelings of anger and anxiety, but disappointment is more of an internal emotion. It usually lies below the surface of anger or anxiety. Because we typically see the outburst and not the disappointment, it's harder to understand what's really going on. That's why waiting to talk until after a blow-up or a panic attack is past makes the most sense. When you discover the irritants and look beneath the behavior, you may very well find discouragement or sadness. Shutting down, isolation, avoidance, giving up, these are all ways in which disappointment shows up in kids with ADHD. Even though an ADHD child's desire to do the right thing fuels their motivation, young people with ADHD frequently report how their EF challenges thwart their intentions. You can assist them in achieving the success that they aim for by collaborating on ways to build those skills. Encourage breathing or an activity that quiets them. Review something that's happened. Empathize with their frustrations or shame. Assist in considering options. Appreciate their efforts to accomplish things. Urge them to keep trying and offer praise and enthusiasm when something goes well. Your support can make feeling disappointed a lot less painful. Too often, kids with ADHD leap from grasping the wrongness of their actions to seeing themselves as deficient. We want to assist kids to change the relationship with their negative inner critic so that we can point out that there's a difference between the events in their lives and the stories they tell themselves about being flawed or not good enough. We can address the common problem of listening to what this voice has to say and believing it without question by externalizing the negative inner critic. Externalization puts the negative self-talk outside of you and allows you and your child to treat it as a separate entity to reduce feeling bad. This allows you to see the negative inner critic and its messages from a different perspective. With the help of a little distance, we can hear and see how this negative inner voice operates without immediately accepting that we are flawed. To help your child externalize this negative inner critic part, you can ask them to draw a picture of what it might look like and even name it. For example, I call mine Nick. When you or your child notice that Nick is around or there's a potential for him to show up, you can remind your child of it being there by saying something like, "Oh, it sounds like Nick showed up because you made a mistake on your schoolwork. What can we remind Nick about making mistakes?" When kids with ADHD, or any child for that matter, externalize their negative inner critic, they learn to slow down or refrain from attacking themselves and instead deal with their big feelings directly. To teach them how to separate the noise of their Nick from the person that they really are, use compassion to empathize with them, collaboration to talk about what's happened and brainstorm alternatives, use consistency to present a more positive story, and celebrate when you notice their efforts. None of us can stop big emotions from occurring, but we can help kids with ADHD refrain from criticizing themselves because of how they do or do not manage them. They may or may not verbally regret how they acted in those moments, but inside they often run a different conversation, a conversation where they put themselves down. While eliminating negative thinking is unrealistic for anyone, given the high frequency of criticism that kids with ADHD receive, reducing it is crucial for fostering self-esteem and resiliency. Kids with ADHD have many ways of rebounding and keeping their spirits up. Hobbies, music, sports, TV, computers, friends, supportive parents, and having something encouraging to say to themselves. Procrastination kicks in when kids with ADHD are faced with an unappealing project. Procrastination quickly teams up with overwhelm and avoidance, making it tough to start anything. And then pops in the negative self-talk. The internal commentary becomes an excuse to prevent doing what needs to be done. Another big obstacle is the internal challenge with understanding and effectively using time. For ADHD brains, time is divided into now or not now. They may not grasp how 5 minutes feels. Either they underestimate how long things take and wait until the last minute, or they overestimate how long something will take and are daunted to start. Time management is a teachable skill that you can start as early as age 6 by using the method of backward design. This means planning in reverse to get where you want to be in the future. Backward design relies on being able to estimate how long things take by beginning with your ideal arrival or finishing time and working backward to assign increments of time to the various steps along the way. For example, if I need to leave work by 7:45 and before that I have to feed the dog, which takes about 5 minutes, and then make and eat my own breakfast, which takes about 20 minutes, and then get dressed, do my hair, and brush my teeth, which takes about 25 minutes, that's a total of 50 minutes. That means I have an extra 10 minutes if I wake up at 6:45. Backward design requires an accurate estimate of how long tasks actually take, which can be tough for many people, especially those with ADHD. Developing the capability for your child to estimate time and monitor how they spend it requires giving direct instruction. When you're not rushing around, sit down together and slowly go through the steps necessary for a given sequence of activities. Listen to your child's estimate of allocating time and give feedback about how long things really take based on your observations. Together, it can be helpful to set up alarms on phones or iPads or use visual timers to alert them. Another major aspect of procrastination is being overwhelmed. Feeling swamped makes it hard to know where to begin. When the size of the job seems too big, avoidance kicks in. Breaking the task down into smaller pieces can assist in these situations. Collaborate with your child to set up a plan that fits their capabilities. Listen to their input about when and how they become overwhelmed, staying specific as possible to establish guidelines for the chore. Follow through with support and acknowledgement when you see a desired outcome. If your 7-year-old's room is trashed by bedtime and they get distracted when trying to clean it, try a different approach. Maybe agree that you will each pick up 5 items so the tidying stays on track. Perhaps offer to dry the pots from dinner to keep your child company while steering her along the path to clean the kitchen. Your participation instructs them how to do the task independently and completely. Talk to your child about the differences between homework and chores. With homework, it's often good to do the hardest thing first when your concentration is strongest. With chores, it's better to start off with something easier and get it over with so you can feel accomplished before moving on to bigger stuff. Just like you did with homework, make a list of appealing activities for your child that will act as incentives. Discuss whether a break will be necessary, and if so, for how long. If needed, co-create a game plan of where to start and what to do next. Be specific about start and end time so the chore doesn't last too long. Encourage progress, however small it is. If they cannot complete the task, then it's still too big. Make it smaller. Use self-control or take a time apart if you become upset. Whatever chore they're doing is not worth an explosion. When the job is finished, take a minute to notice its completion positively. An important part of getting things done is following instructions. Parents and teachers often complain that kids with ADHD don't remember what they're told. Listing things all at once, get dressed, make your bed, brush your teeth, is a prescription for failure. Kids either can't recall the steps required to follow the sequence you just told them, or they're distracted by something else. Forgetfulness happens for a number of reasons: challenges with working memory, internal or external distractions, trouble putting tasks into steps, anxiety about forgetting. Changing how you talk to a young person about the task at hand can improve all of these things. The rule of 3 assists you in delivering instructions more effectively. It starts with the premise that you need your child's full attention when you instruct them. This means that you do not yell from the kitchen to the upstairs or give reminders as you walk out the front door. Instead, the rule of 3 entails looking, listening, and speaking, as you must make direct contact with your child. Here's how it works. First, get down to your child's eye level, touch them gently on the shoulder, and say their name. If they're taller than you, then you can both sit down. Make sure they're looking at you, listening, and engaged. If their eyes are wandering or their bodies are moving, gently help them focus on you by saying, "Your eyes on my eyes." Second, state your task clearly and calmly. Finally, ask them to repeat your request exactly twice. By giving directions this way, you activate several areas of the brain: sight, touch, sound, and speech, which helps the director get everyone on board to work and improves the likelihood that the task will be remembered and completed. When the first task is finished, you can give another one in exactly the same manner. You may need to keep an eye on what is happening and give a prompt. If you find that they're dragging on doing the task, it might be too complex, which means you'd have to break it down. Single directions for simple tasks are the way to go for kids with ADHD. Getting dressed may be one whole task, or it may need to be broken down into component parts. We all need friends, people who laugh at our jokes, comfort us when we feel low, and rejoice with us in good times. Relationships sustain us. When people don't like us, those rejections shape us too. For some kids with ADHD, forming fulfilling relationships comes naturally, but for others, it's a lot harder. Either way, your child needs your guidance to help them make good choices, manage sticky situations, and build confidence as they engage with the world. Most parents assist youngsters in forming early peer relationships by sending them to daycare or arranging playdates. You taught them to play fairly, to stop themselves from saying or doing hurtful things, to share their toys, and to go along with the rules of the group. As children grow older, peer relationships occur more and more outside of the parental purview. Kids with ADHD who may miss facial and physical cues struggle with empathy and lack of self-control around others. Challenges with working memory, focus, impulse control, and self-understanding commonly propel kids with ADHD to miss critical aspects of social dynamics. Some kids with ADHD struggle with understanding what friendship means. They don't fully understand that each of us interacts with others in a range of ways: acquaintances, friends, best buddies, and then later significant others. The nuances of friendships can be challenging for kids with ADHD whose brains think more concretely. When your child has friendship issues, your own history with relationships can combine with your natural protective parental instincts to send you through the roof. Friendship struggles are a great opportunity to use the 5 C's. Instead of rushing to call the parent of the child who teased yours on the playground, stop, think, and act. Take a minute to settle down and breathe. Offer verbal or physical comfort to your child and listen to what happened. These choices will simultaneously calm your brain and help your child settle. Together, you can wonder about options, brainstorm responses, and decide on next steps. There are certain kids with ADHD that struggle with reaching out and connecting to peers. There's others who don't think people are interested in them, and those who feel lonely or don't fit in. When kids with ADHD struggle socially, they tend to have fewer opportunities to practice relationship skills that most need to develop. This leads to further social awkwardness. You can help your son or daughter improve how they read social cues and what to say to other people by practicing with you and other family members. Point out body language and facial expressions. Use meals as time to build conversational skills, and even provide sample questions for your child to have beforehand. Talk to your child about who, if anyone, is a potential new friend. Go over how, what, and where to connect with them appropriately. Just like you teach them to break down a chore, encourage them to start small, maybe with a hello one day and a hey, nice t-shirt the next. With younger children, you can offer to call a parent to set up a playdate. If something goes poorly, remind them that friendships take time, trust builds through conversations and shared activities, and bumps in the road are inevitable. When you nurture social confidence and resiliency at home, this gives your youngster the confidence that they can do it independently later on. All kids use technology for entertainment, socializing, and relaxing. Sometimes it helps escape from daily stress, or aids in creative self-expression, or builds academic skills. With its countless options, the internet and the devices that access it are gold mines for kids with ADHD because they can instantaneously satisfy their natural distractibility by doing several things simultaneously: music, videos, socializing, homework, and more. While finding stimulation anytime, anywhere can be exciting, it can also lead kids further away from themselves and into numbing out. For parents, it's almost impossible to keep up with every new game or site or to know which ones are appropriate. It's equally daunting to know how to monitor kids' online activities. Things that used to be private and personal are made public and tangible on social media platforms. Adults often forget this, and kids who have never learned it in the first place certainly are not aware of the dangers. But if you add the impulsive aspects of ADHD into the mix, the likelihood of considering the consequences of writing snarky words on someone's wall or friending someone from Norway in a computer game is quite low. Moreover, kids with ADHD simply do not possess the developed capacity to stop themselves when something seems like fun, and so you must explicitly teach them online safety over and over and over again. It's never too late or too early to start clear, consistent ground rules about technology to lead to safe and healthy choices. Before you begin to teach digital citizenship, honestly reflect on how you use technology. How often do you get on your computer or phone? Is it too much? Are you modeling using technology in ways that you feel good about? What, if anything, would you do differently? How often have you turned away from your child to check your phone, showing them silently that they matter less than an incoming message? The parts of our brain that detect novelty activate every time there's a ping, urging us to shift our awareness to the potential pleasure of an incoming message. The constant calls on our attention can be addicting for anyone, but especially for those with ADHD who are naturally drawn to new stimuli. Your kids will notice your actions when you do exactly what you have told them not to do. Even though you may be working, figuring out family finances, or planning a vacation, your child does not see this as different from their online activities. The adult is on the screen when they are not. Before having a discussion with your kids, become clear about the role of technology in your home and the boundaries you want to establish. What websites, games, and apps are appropriate for your child's age and maturity? Where and when can they use their devices? Are they powered down at night? And if so, where are they kept? Setting these boundaries can be tricky because many kids think they should have whatever access they desire, but using technology is a privilege. I encourage you to insist on being your child's friend or follower and have access to their media accounts, including passwords. You will probably receive pushback as you set limits about websites or apps your child can access, and that's okay. You're changing the assumption that they are as entitled to technology as they are to food, clothing, shelter, and love. A written contract can be helpful to create your family discussion about technology. There are some excellent age-appropriate media contracts available at commonsensemedia.org. This website has lots of information for parents, as well as age-based reviews on shows and movies. Finally, consider having dedicated family times to unplug and connect with one another. After work, plan to spend the first hour at home reconnecting with your family. If you're just checking your phone, then you're checking out. Kids, even teens, will act out to get your attention, so give it to them before any drama can occur. You can also try scheduling screen-free days and using meal times as opportunity for interactions without technology. Computer and video games appeal to kids with ADHD because they provide fun and interesting activities where they meet specific objectives and feel accomplished. Using a mix of fantasy, music, and plot intricacies, computer and video games offer a variety of compelling challenges to keep minds and hands engaged. In a life where a child with ADHD and possibly a learning challenge may feel frustrated by lack of achievement at school, they're met with success every time they reach a designated level. An immediate feeling of competency ensues. The seduction of computer and video games lies in the lure of attaining the next level. It's never enough to finish one thing. The game entices you to keep moving. For kids with ADHD who tend to overfocus, misunderstand time, and live predominantly in the present, it can be almost impossible to stop. When the now of the game is totally captivating, there is no later. Having a single goal of moving from one level to the next fits perfectly with the overfocus that comes naturally to kids with ADHD. When engrossed in a game, the director of the brain cannot summon the motivation and control to stop. Gaming serves a social purpose. Kids play with friends or connect with others online, sharing their passion for virtual world. They create 21st century friendships that parents may not understand. Computer friends are sometimes those that your child will trust because they accept him. Friendships also form around shared interests in gaming. I would encourage you to participate in some gaming with your kids, even if it's the last thing you want to do. It shows that you care enough to be interested in what matters to your child. It also gives you a leg to stand on when you attempt to monitor or set limits on certain games later on. While gaming provides entertainment or a much-needed break from a stressful day, when overused, it masks underlying issues like anxiety, loneliness, or low self-esteem. I've heard many parents say they believe their child is addicted to the computer. There is a huge difference between gaming as a supplement to daily living and gaming as the focus of daily living. There are kids with ADHD whose gaming is the preferred free time activity, but they're also doing fine in school, play a sport, and have a few friends. When they have no commitments, they go online or play video games, but they possess limited abilities to get off cooperatively and so appear to their parents as addicted and may in fact just be overly engaged in screen activities. When gaming takes priority over all other activities, school, friendship, extracurriculars, despite significant negative consequences like academic failure or socialization, then computer gaming has become unhealthy and your child may be addicted. This would require more attention. Although logging onto devices can happen pretty quickly and easily, logging off can be an ordeal. Masters of delay maneuvers, kids with ADHD seem to be incapable of resisting the appeal of the computer, phone, or tablet. Whether their goal is to avoid boredom, reach that magic level of their favorite game, or text a friend about drama, kids feel a pressing and passionate desire to be on a screen no matter what. Ending screen time to do homework or clean their room pales in comparison to the action online. It's common that parents threaten things they cannot act on or have no plan to enforce to get their kids off their devices. Every time you threaten and do not deliver, your credibility slides down a notch. Upping the ante to make a punishment mean something, like taking away the computer for a month because they didn't clean their room, seems severe and frankly meaningless. Many kids with ADHD can't grasp what a month actually means. It just feels like forever. Furthermore, when kids are not part of the discussion about what would have them stop gaming, messaging, or texting, means that they lack real investment in cooperating. Threats and punishments cause kids to focus solely on avoiding negative consequences, and then they learn nothing about transitioning off screens. Easy on, easy off involves setting a baseline for screen time and using meaningful incentives. But before doing anything, you need to decide the total amount of screen time per day your child can have. Kids do better when they have an automatic baseline of screen time that is non-negotiable, meaning they get this regardless of anything they do. Perhaps you want your child to have a total of 1.5 hours per day. The first hour is an automatic baseline. It's given and is not to be removed due to misbehavior, disrespect, low grades, etc. The other 30 minutes is the golden carrot of bonus time your child really wants and serves as valuable incentive behind motivation and cooperation for easy on, easy off. If your child completes their hour and gets off with no arguing to practice the violin or set the dinner table, they can earn the extra 30 minutes, beginning at a time you choose. Discuss with your child what should happen if they have trouble getting offline from the bonus time. Write down their ideas and incorporate them into your plan. Another valuable incentive that you can use with bonus time or by itself is time with you. Similar to identifying incentives for doing chores, collaborate on a written list of enjoyable shared activities that you can post in the house. Explain that you'll have two options following screen time. Option 1, if you practice easy on, easy off, you can pick an activity from the list. Option 2, if you don't practice easy on, easy off, you can pick a household helping activity. Now that you're ready to start the Easy On, Easy Off program, follow these steps. At the beginning of a time-limited screen session, set 2 timers, one for them and one for you. Tell them that you will give them 2 warnings, a 5-minute and a 2-minute. Remember to use the rule of 3 to explain this and then again when giving the warnings. When the 5-minute warning arrives, go to your child's room and say, "That's your 5-minute warning, I'll come back in 2 minutes." Then reset the timer. Come back in 2 minutes and say, "This is your 2-minute warning. I'm reminding you to save all your stuff now." Then set the final alarm. When the alarm beeps, if your child manages easy off, commend them on the transition. Either do the chosen activity immediately or tell them they've earned the bonus time and when they can begin it. If they argue, procrastinate, or throw a controller, move to the option in this circumstance that was co-created during your planning. Whatever you do, avoid negotiating. Keep breathing, remember this is tough for everyone, and stick with your collaboration plan. I understand that this program may seem labor intensive for you. I can even understand that you might be thinking that your child has to learn to do things they don't like getting off the screen, without you being impacted or involved in the process. While that's true, your child should learn to do the boring stuff of life. Frequent arguments and subsequent punishments won't teach them how. Kids are smart. They know that you're overworked and that you'll eventually forget what you threatened or grow tired of enforcing the rule. This is why many kids with ADHD do not take their parents seriously. These tactics may work when they're younger, but by high school, teens are savvier and less scared. Promising to withdraw technology privilege might temporarily change the behavior, but it rarely has lasting effects because it fails to teach the necessary lifelong EF skills. How will a threat help kids learn to end their game and study for geometry? How will they eventually be able to switch tasks and meet deadlines at their jobs? Kids with ADHD need extra assistance as they mature to develop the skills required to transition, be flexible, and to regulate. When your child or teen is using technology or social media inappropriately, taking away devices makes sense. Playing games that you do not approve of, visiting unsuitable websites, or texting or posting inappropriate material means that your child is misusing their device. Using the 5 C's, the situation invites conversation and consequences that teach about digital citizenship and online safety. When you see a picture of your teen on Instagram doing something inappropriate or justifiably concerning, you stop, think, or act to plot your course of action. Allow for a conversation with your child so they can explain the situation and how they feel about it. Remind them about digital footprints. Future colleges and employers routinely go online to gather information about prospective students and workers. Express your feelings calmly and talk together about the breach of trust and how to restore it. Take the time you need to consider your choices, and when you've made a decision, make sure all the adults in the house are on the same page. Then reconvene with your child and discuss your plan. Whether it's deleting Instagram or restricting phone use, also give them a chance to make amends and rebuild trust. Notice their efforts when they bring their phone into your room each night before bed and text you regularly with their whereabouts. When they follow the agreement, they make a valuable deposit into the trust bank account. I hope this webinar has provided you with alternatives to raised voices, painful misunderstandings, ultimatums, and unilateral problem solving. Now you can rely on monitoring yourself first, listening to your child's words and actions, and figuring out what's going on together so you can make agreements on doing homework, cleaning rooms, and shutting off devices based on appealing incentives that include connection and interactions with you. If you'd like to learn more, you can contact me by email at hello@kendrawagnercounseling.com. Thanks for watching and take good care.